implementing runnable interface and callable interface almost same. Now let's implement callable interface. As we know that callable interface is a generic interface, so we have to provide a class. In our case, we want to return a boolean value of our call method so that we can determine if that email has been delivered successfully or not. Callable interface also a functional interface. That means it has only one method that's called call. So we have to override this method. Before that, let's create an object of our email sender. And also create one header and setter method so that we can get client email ID. Now create a get method for this property. And now we have to also create an argument constructor so that we can pass that email ID. Now implement the functionalities inside this call method. Here we will call email send method that we have in our email sender class. Now you can see that we have defined this call method as boolean, and if we check the send method that we have defined in email sender, you can see that this method already returning a boolean value. So let's return the value which is returning by send method. Now let's implement this email status class in our main method. First, we have to create a client email address. Now create an object of email status. Then pass this email ID as a constructor argument. Now create a thread class. Now you can see that we have one error. We have this error because there is no thread constructor where take callable object as a argument. So as there is no such constructor in thread class, we have to implement few more things. There is one more class which is also known as feature tasks. And you can see that feature tasks is also a generic class. We have to provide the return status of our sending method. So our return status should be boolean. Now we can provide our object which implemented callable interface. Now we can pass this feature tasks as argument of this thread class. Now look at this thread class. You can see this is a runnable task, right? So you can see it accepts runnable interface, but our reference is future tasks, right? But if we open this class, we can find that this class implemented runnable future. And if we look at the runnable future interface, then we can see this interface already implemented runnable and future. That's why we can pass future tasks in thread as a runnable interface. Basically, feature tasks already implemented runnable interface. That's why we can add this reference as an argument in thread class. Now let's start the thread. And now get the value that is returning by our send email method. In previous video, we have seen that callable interface has checked exception implementation. So if we want to call this get method, then we have to implement our checked exception. So we can add the signature in our main method. Now we will check if that mail is delivered successfully or not. If status is true, then we will print message delivered. Or else we will show that message is not delivered. Now let's try to run this program. So you can see that message has been delivered successfully and we able to get the status of the message. So as it's delivered the message successfully, the status is true. That's why it's printing message delivered in our console. Now let's say that we forget to provide this @ symbol. Then what happened? Obviously this is an invalid email address. It will give us an error. Now run this program and check in our console. So as usual, you can see now it's saying that invalid address, and now the status of the send email method is false. That's why it's printing not able to send message, please try again. So this is the usage of callable interface. Let's say that we have to provide 100 email. There is a high possibilities that out of 100, few emails would be undelivered because of some network issue or some issue in SMTP server. So in that case, we have to check those conditions. Otherwise, that undelivered message will cause an huge issue in our application. In that particular scenario, we should use callable interface rather than runnable interface. As of now, we have discussed about various topics, and these are: understand thread and its usage in a real world example, implement thread using runnable interface, implement thread using thread class, advantage of using runnable interface compared to thread class, callable interface, difference between runnable and callable interface. So if you want to really know the thread, how thread is working, in which scenario we should use this thread, so everything we have already discussed. So don't miss those videos to have good understand in thread. In next tutorial, we'll discuss about thread life cycle.